I soldered the new capacitors to the foot of the gutted original electrolytic that was inside the Motorola. Now, as you can see, I soldered the capacitors, two long slim ones and one normal sized one. This one is 33 microfarads. These two are 47 microfarads, rated 450 volts. The big one, if I'm not mistaken, is rated 400 volts. So plenty good, because the original one was rated at 150 volts for each of the capacitors. So I used the original lugs which form the contacts of the capacitor, and I soldered the new capacitors to the top of those lugs, and then I pushed them back through the cap, the original cap that closed off the capacitor. So, and to finish it off, I used plenty of epoxy glue, which you can see, to hold all the lugs in place. Now the epoxy is hardened and almost cured, so I'm going to put the capacitors back into the can like this. It's a tight fit, but it will close up. And then I'm going to solder the ground wires together and maybe attach a lead or something like that. I don't know quite yet what, but I might use, for example, a piece of this gold-plated copper wire to form the ground contact. I don't know yet, we'll see. In any case, the plan is to close up the capacitor and then place it back in its original place on the chassis, which would be around here. So this is where I'll put it back into place. Also, what I've been doing is I mounted a fuse holder to the side of the audio transformer, which you can see there, and I mounted it in such a way that once the chassis is mounted back into the radio, the fuse holder won't bother the speaker or well, make contact or any sort of short circuit with another part of the circuitry. So it's a simple screw holder, fuse holder I mean, with a screw cap. So I just need to solder a few wires, and then what I'm going to do, that might feel hair-raising to some of you who are purists, in the sense that you don't want to damage anything, but well, I think the safest way to go about it is to drill with the help of a mini drill. I'm going to drill two holes, small holes, just wide enough to interrupt this trace, this copper trace. But I'm going to do it in two spots. For example, one hole here and maybe half a centimeter further on, another hole there. The piece that will be left over in the center, I will simply cut away so as to make sure there is no short circuit. Once those holes are drilled, I will run a wire from this end to the fuse holder over there, to the bottom, and from the side contact of this fuse holder, I'll run a wire back to the other part of the copper trace. So in effect, I'm going to put a fuse in into the part of the AC. Simply because, you know, even though I restored this radio, these old radios, or old appliances, I should say, I don't 100% trust them where AC is concerned or high voltage in general. So I think that's simply what I need to do to make it safe. Some of the traces look damaged, but that couldn't be helped. The mechanical stress combined with the heat from desoldering the capacitor pulled them loose. So I had to use some very fast drying hard epoxy glue to keep them more or less into place. It's the only sensible solution I found. I also repaired the bottom by placing a ring of translucent and quickly drying epoxy glue in more or less a circle, which keeps the center contacts in place. Okay, so that's how far I got. The next update, I hope I'll be able to show you the finished chassis and then mounted and film while I'm mounted inside the cabinet of the radio. So hang on, stay tuned for a next update.